Welcome back to the show, my friends. Kath Langman here, your host for today's episode of the Scale My Ecom Store podcast. Now, any of you listeners who are in an e-commerce business, whether you're early stage or further down the road with your business journey, you would know that to succeed in growing an e-commerce business, we need to get enough of the right people visiting our websites, adding products to their shopping cart and checking out and actually spending some money with your business. And we need to be able to do that without overspending on things like, paying paid advertising to drive traffic to your website. However, getting traffic to our websites is so much harder and more expensive in 2025 than even just a year ago. And this kind of pace, the change in traffic generating strategies and the cost of advertising and all of this kind of stuff has changed so rapidly, even just really over the last 9 months. And this is partly due to technology advances in AI, for example. So thanks to generative AI, most Google searches now offer up content within the search results themselves, resulting in far fewer clicks outside of Google. But getting website traffic at a profitable price is also being impacted by things like Meta's latest announcement, where they are removing fact checking on Facebook and Instagram, amongst a number of other policy changes that they've just rolled out. And really, all of this leaves many consumers wondering what content is real, what's artificially generated. Is something they're looking at legitimate, or is it a scam? It's so much harder than ever now for all of us to trust what we see online, especially in ads, which can, severely impact conversion rates and just end up driving traffic costs up even further. So today on the show, I'm going to share with you 3 practically free strategies, traffic strategies that I'm using right now in my businesses and with clients to quickly gain the attention of the right people at a practically free price, like I said. And these are generating huge spikes in website traffic and sales. Pretty much any e-commerce business can use these strategies, whether you are at an early stage in your business growth trajectory or if you are already at scale. Now, before we dive in, I want to remind you that I have my new 2025 e-commerce marketing playbook resource available, and I'm offering it for free for the moment. So this is a really comprehensive document. It's outlining the key trends from over the last 12 months, the strategies that are working right now to drive profitable growth in an e-commerce business, and the things that we all need to be focusing on this year if we really want to have the most successful year possible. So if you haven't already got a copy, you can head over to katherinelangman.com/playbook and you can download a copy for free. Now, before we kind of dive into the meat and potatoes of this episode, I want to share a couple of things. And first of all, something kind of funny that happened yesterday. As many of your listeners would know, I have a natural skincare and beauty brand called Indigare. And I guess any of you who have been in business for 5 minutes probably are already experiencing being on the receiving end of some cold outreach from potential service providers. It's not a strategy that I particularly agree with using myself, because most of the time, again, it's like these people are tapping into AI tools to do kind of mass blast outs of emails, DMs, blah, blah, blah. And it's pretty generic stuff. Anyway, I got this really funny one yesterday. And it was written by this guy who was trying to suggest that I needed his help with redesigning the website and working on SEO. And it started out by saying, I've been meaning to email you for ages, but I've been so busy, and which kind of put me on the back foot to begin with. Anyway, then he went on to say that he could promise me getting up position one for X number of search keywords, etc., etc., and pitching his SEO services. Ironically, for that business, we already rank number one for some of our top keywords, or one, two, and three. Like we rank quite highly already. So obviously he didn't do his research. But also, like, let's talk about what is going on with the digital marketing landscape and how this is impacting traffic to websites, because nearly 60% of internet searches or Google searches don't actually result in any kind of a click outside of Google. So being number one in search results isn't necessarily going to actually drive traffic to your website, right? And of the remaining 40% of Google searches that do result in a click, and I'm talking about organic search here, about 30% of those clicks go to another Google-owned property such as YouTube. So in all honesty, this leaves such a very small percentage of Google searches that are actually clicking outside of Google to a non-Google related website like your online store or my online store. Instead, most of these Google searches now offer up content within the search results themselves, and this is being driven by generative AI. Now, I'm not suggesting by any stretch of the imagination that trying to optimize your website for Google search traffic is a silly thing to do. I still work on that, and we do actually get a decent volume of organic search traffic, but it is not something that we could rely on to actually sustain the business, let alone grow it. So it is a bit frustrating, that the kind of bread and butter traffic strategy that we would have used over decades, really, trying to optimize our, like publishing content on our website, optimizing it for, top keyword search terms and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, that's been largely ripped away from us, and just doesn't work in the same way anymore. And the fact that nearly 2/3 of all searches are not resulting in any kind of click whatsoever outside of Google is a pretty big deal. And of course, it's not, only because of the way that we approach SEO, but it's also the way that we need to think about advertising as well. If you think about it, if businesses are unable to rely on search engine optimization and organic search traffic in the same way as they could before, that means that the clicks that you can get from organic search are way more competitive than ever, because there are far fewer clicks available than there were a year or more ago. And so if the number of organic searches has, clicks out of Google from organic searches has been cut down by 2/3, then what are all of these online businesses doing? I mean, obviously, if we want to sustain a business and grow a business, we still need to get those clicks and traffic to our website one way or another. And so it means that the volume of businesses now advertising online and spending more money on their advertising has increased dramatically. And so, in addition to what I was talking about earlier about how, content is going to and is already less trustworthy on social media because of AI, it also, the impact of all of this means that paid advertising is more competitive and expensive, and therefore harder to get converting profitably. Not impossible, but certainly harder. And of course, totally great if you happen to own Google or Meta, but not so great for the rest of us, because of course, all of this extra competition for the same inventory of ad space just means that prices for ads have gone up, and the net effect is that clicks are more expensive than they were even a year ago. So what are we going to do? I mean, the fact remains that there's a huge and rapidly growing opportunity in e-commerce as a business model. And so we need to, well, hopefully you listeners want to, I certainly do, tap into that opportunity and find ways of overcoming these constraints and restrictions that we now have placed upon us in terms of getting traffic to our website, And so today on the show, I'm going to be sharing 3 practically free, they're not entirely free, but practically free strategies that are helping to increase the sales in my e-commerce businesses, and same in some of my clients as well who are already implementing these things. And so, in terms of getting traffic, but also sales, and the impact of these strategies has been really rapid. For example, one of these strategies I implemented in December, and this was not related to, Black Friday or Christmas promos or anything like that. And we ended up essentially tripling our revenue as a result of one of these strategies. So super, super cool. So the first thing, and actually, just before I kind of go on, none of this is new. It's just a different way of thinking about how to use them, and kind of bringing back some of the old or more traditional marketing strategies in the wake of all this kind of upheaval in digital marketing. So the first one I'm going to talk about is a brand collaboration, or a promotion that you run in collaboration with other brands. Now, there's nothing new about running collaborative promotions with influencers and brand reps, and even with other brands, right? But I'm not necessarily talking about working with influencers here. I am talking about working with complementary brands. So this is something that we've done, from time to time over many years with clients and with our businesses. Probably one of the early successes of using this strategy was a few years ago with baby aiders, where rather than spending a whole lot of money on advertising through Black Friday, we organised a collaboration with, I think it was like 3 or 4 other brands, and they're brands that share the same or have a very large overlap in the ideal customer base, but are not directly competing brands, because that obviously wouldn't work. And being able to tap into these each other's existing audiences, and having the warm introduction. There's an added level of credibility with an audience when the introduction to a new brand comes from a trusted source, right? If you're able to get in front of a really warm audience, such as via email marketing, obviously that is going to work extremely well compared to driving cold traffic from paid advertising, right? But like, it's a very different reaction that you're going to get from an audience when you have somebody trusted introducing a brand versus the brand talking about themselves. And so this can work extremely well if you can coordinate it successfully, and have an agreed strategy of promotion, so that it's not kind of, you don't want it to end up a little bit like a school homework project, where it's a group project and one person ends up doing all of the heavy lifting and doing all of the work, and the other members of the group just end up riding on the coattails, because that's not fair. So in reality, this kind of a strategy is going to be most equitable and successful where each brand also has a similar sized audience and similar sized database, and are willing to execute the strategy, the agreed strategy consistently, and not just be tapping into one person's audience the most. So much like any promotion, in my opinion, this kind of a strategy should still involve rolling out all of the rolling out the marketing across all of the channels that you might use if you were running your own personal promotion on your own, and being able to have the consistency across paid traffic, email marketing, using content creators and brand reps, and any other way that you typically would use in your own business, and just each of these brands rolling it out themselves. And so this would be something that you could do in the lead up to something like a product launch, or you could do it in a peak sales time for your business. So, for example, if you have a summer product and summer is peak sales time, it might be something that you can do together at that time, and then it's not going to really require big discounts or anything like that to really get customers moving. It's just literally tapping into some existing demand because of the time of year. And aside from getting really cheap traffic to your website and having the higher conversion rates because of that trusted or the credibility bestowed upon you from a warm introduction, it's also going to be an excellent way to grow your own database and grow your own email list, which of course is, the gift that can keep on giving over time, as you can, obviously enjoy the high conversion rates from email marketing over time. So a number of benefits there, not just in terms of the short-term traffic and sales. The next one I want to talk about is PR. Actually getting some publicity for your brand in media outlets, whether it's news media or, really big blogs or digital magazines or TV media or all of the above. Even printed magazines that are kind of making a bit of a comeback in some areas as well. And, again, this helps in terms of the initial kind of credibility bestowed on a brand because of that trusted source of the introduction. It's a little bit different from a brand collaboration or an influencer collaboration, really, where the warm introduction is coming from that kind of commercial source, like not that news media or magazines, of course they're commercial as well, but it's a different kind of credibility that you're receiving from that kind of a source. But the size of their audiences are massive. So when you are thinking about growing an e-commerce business or growing any kind of a business, you have to get an audience before you can get traffic. And with the cost of paid advertising these days, it is just harder and harder and way more expensive to achieve that in that way, and therefore harder to scale up rapidly. Whereas if you can tap into an existing huge audience, the boost to your brand awareness and the boost to the size of your engaged audience that you gain from that is enormous. But also, there's this kind of strange, I find it a bit strange anyway. It's like a bit of a strange psychological reaction that people who read or view these media articles, whether it's, like the online news or TV news or digital magazine / printed magazine, there's just kind of this strange psychological response that a lot of people who read and view this kind of content have, where, it's kind of taken as gospel. And, the reaction can be really, really swift. So, this was the strategy that really boosted Indigare's December sales. And like I said, it wasn't actually anything to do with the Black Friday or Christmas timing at all. And, it does require really having a in-depth understanding of your customer, your ideal customer, what their pain points, needs, desires, etc. are, and what is the kind of outcome that they really, and the benefits that they really want to experience by buying or consuming the kind of product that you sell. If you really don't understand that, then this kind of a strategy is not going to work. But when you really do understand that, and you can succinctly and clearly communicate that that value statement in a engaging article, I'm not advocating for clickbait here at all, because that's a very quick way to destroy trust with an audience. But certainly having the right kind of messaging angles and hooks and ability to succinctly communicate that message to your ideal customer base. But the reaction can be really, really swift. And so massive plug for traditional PR here. In addition to really understanding your ideal customers' buyer journey in that way, you also need to have a really solid idea of what kind of media they consume, and so that you are pitching the right kind of media with the right kind of story angles. So, definitely requires that in-depth understanding of your customer base or your ideal customer base for this strategy to work. And then the last strategy that I want to mention here, again, this is not new, and this is referrals. And, this is about tapping into your own customers. This is something that I did right from my very first business. This is probably one of the oldest types of advertising known to humankind, and from the earliest days of commerce, I'm sure. But the idea where you can tap into your existing customers can be really powerful, and you can do it in different ways these days than we might have in the past. So for example, with my first business, this was certainly after Google and organic search really took off, but before social media took off. And so we were using things like email marketing with referral codes, and also inviting people to join our we called it a team of consultants, but essentially it was like a brand rep program. But people, because that was a baby product, all the mums were in mothers groups and play groups and things like that, and they would chat with their friends and their community of other parents who were at that same stage of life. And so, we would offer some commission on those kind of referral sales. So that was the way that we did it then. But these days, you can use things like social media to tap into your existing customers by, one strategy that works really well for baby aiders is to essentially incentivize your happy customers to share a pic or a short video clip of their baby sporting their baby aiders sunglasses on Instagram, and tag the brand in return for winning their order back. But then also inviting the really, inviting the customers who've done great, produced great content in that kind of share and tag to become a affiliate or a brand rep, whatever you want to call it, right? And then, offering them the ability to earn some commission when they kind of share with their own audience. And these, it's like a micro influencer kind of scenario, but, because they are essentially, these people are already sharing this stuff with their friends and family anyway. It's just giving them a little bit of a reward to motivate them to perhaps be a little bit more proactive with it. And, again, it kind of achieves a few things in one go. You are attracting new customers into your audience essentially for free. You are establishing that trusted relationship with a potential customer very, very quickly because of the credibility bestowed from a warm introduction. And you are actually driving traffic and sales because you've kind of got that incentive in place to motivate a brand rep to do so. There's, of course, other ways that you can encourage people to refer you to their network. But that is just one way that is working for me at the moment and for our businesses. And it might give you some ideas to start thinking along those lines. Really, the bottom line is that you want to remember is that in this environment that we are in at the moment with online business, where not only has the cost of traffic gone up and therefore the cost per conversion is more expensive, and all of that kind of squeezes the profit margins that you might have when you're selling your products. So, that's one side of things, but then also being able to establish that kind of relationship with your audience that, is a trusted relationship with your customers is essential, and it's going to be harder this year. The ability for us to communicate with the right people successfully and have our audience really believe that it's real and not some kind of AI generated content or some kind of trust scam, rather than a real, authentic, legitimate business that is selling something of quality. So that is going to get harder this year. And I think those two constraints are really what is going to trip a lot of customers, a lot of e-commerce businesses up the most this year, and impact a lot of businesses' ability to successfully grow. I think probably one last little thing that I'll add into the mix here. This is less about driving traffic and sales, more about, helping to establish that trusted relationship with your audience, is as a business owner, showing your face, and particularly showing it on video, and not in a super airbrushed, highly polished way, because again, that can feel a little bit fake, a little bit AI-ish. I hope there's going to be a terminology that can encapsulate that concept. But anyway, getting on video as a business owner, in your content, in your ads, and on your website, and having that kind of cohesive experience from content at the point of discovery, which is, likely to be either in ads or, some kind of social media platform or other media platform, right? It's not, the point of discovery is not likely to be your own website, right? But you still want to have that cohesive experience from that point of discovery when people land on your website or your product pages and that sort of thing. So incorporating some of your own story being accessible and visible and just real with your audience, I think is going to be a really critical move for all of us this year, if you aren't already doing it. All the introverts out there, you can do it too. I'm an introvert. It took me a while to get comfortable on video, but I'm there now. And if you all need any tips about how to get there, just reach out to me and I'll share with you how I got here. Anyway, if you are at the point in your business where you know that you need to either start or do better with your marketing, with your messaging, with your content creation, with your advertising, with your website conversions and all of that stuff, and you are feeling a little bit wary of how to stay up to date with all of this rapidly changing digital landscape, maybe 2025 is the year that you need to work with somebody who's really in it and experienced and is able to teach you, essentially. So invest in your own education. Now, to start with, I would definitely suggest downloading my playbook that I mentioned at the start of this episode. So you can grab my 2025 e-commerce marketing playbook by heading to katherineLangman.com/playbook. And secondly, it might be time to investigate working with a business coach in a program such as the Productpreneur Academy. If that is something that you want to explore, we have offerings that suit businesses from early stage through to scaling up and at scale. So I don't want you to feel like this is beyond where you're at right now. So if you just want to have a chat about what this might look like, you can do so by heading to productpreneurmarketing.com/let's-talk. That's a long URL. I'll put it in the podcast show notes page, and you can just click on over to book in a time and have a chat with one of our brand growth advisors. That's it for today's episode, though. I hope that this has offered a little bit of hope and inspiration, as well as a little bit of a reality check, perhaps, about where we're at in the digital marketing and e-commerce landscape right now. So I hope you've enjoyed that episode, and I will look forward to being in your ears again next week. Bye for now.